Terra proud. Hey!
When you were called away suddenly, I didn't realize what you'd be doing. I shouldn't have. I saw Cyril eccentric suddenly. What? She was there. I might have mentioned. I didn't know who she was, but of course it made sense. They were looking for Jennifer. They believed she was there. The information you told me about Cyril, about what you saw before the door do so. More things.
We are the witches and you. I don't trust anyone else.
Tris?
No, I said I would call you when she was ready.
I need to know everything about the girl. Now.
You told him this magic cannot be ours alone. There is too much at stake.
Look, this is important. I need you to tell me everything, Tris. Tris.
She wasn't ready. This is why I didn't want to tell you.
This isn't a game, Sam. If what she says is true, this child has the potential to end all war forever. Unless she falls into the wrong hands, and if that happens, the consequences will be ours to know.
What then the consequences? This I made a promise to Tris. And I want to continue to put my girls at risk unnecessarily.
I wouldn't ask you to if it wasn't necessary! I have always considered you my equal partner. My most trusted confidant. I wish I could prove to you that I'm worthy of the same.
You dare show your face here. After lying to the Conclave and attacking us in Solid.
My boyfriend's no doubt set off alarms. I don't have much
So
time.
get on with it.
Yarps.
Water does help out. Want you to carry for them this time.
I'm not here for lemon. Was a mage. Just as you need. I may need to leave now, God. Quickly.
What's changed?
An emperor arriving tomorrow with great expectations. I brought in the elves to fight for us, but they have had a change of heart.
So the elven The cell was right.
I get off for the Brotherhood's politics.
Yeah, I do. Tris Marigold, okay. Suddenly, that's good.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that?
Sword.
You're my blood. That is a bond. It's stronger than ours. Please. Let's go together.
I should have stood up for you that night, all around Tris. I'm sorry. Let's be honest, whatever is brewing out there, the Brotherhood needs reinforcements in here. If you were to return, you need to plead your case. Apologize.
For aligning with Northgard.
Yeah.
Of course.
For believing that you could have any impact there at all. There are those who are obsessed with finding power, and there are those who know their place. You know which one you are, like both. You wouldn't have come back here if you didn't.
I'll be mooning.
Of course he knows.
Oh, Werewolves. Oh.
Only now I'm curious. Then we know to die because I'm here. Spy. It's more than that.
Ah, noosh. Ah.
The stuff is getting hotter. Mobile home needs several people to keep it running.
Yes.
You first.
Hunting.
It looks like a self-sustaining hot air mobile home. Let my little children escape and we'll have to find some other orphans to do our chores. And
You should do your own chores. Or take turns doing them according to a fair schedule. The algorithm is it takes a village to raise a child.
Hey.
Not 3 children should clean up after a village.
he's a traitor and a rule breaker. Burn him too. I'll get your paper. Early. Look at this. I am deputizing the whole kit and caboodle. Now let's scoot up that red hot jalopy and drag down those killers. There's no one in this truck.
They don't know that. That's right, I have a hope if you want to stay dry, skate back. Right, class?
Absolutely right. Although this truck is a 1956 International R190, it's been retrofitted with the same specs as the triple pump of France, with 800 gallons of water on board, which is anything for a book by fire truck knows. Can be shut out at a rate of 1,600 pounds per square inch, which is a lot of power. How was that? Comprehensive.
I'll go my way. Moving.
I'll take it. Just
Good
let me
boy,
know,
you.
Steve, my boyfriend bought it for me. It's by a stupid hardcore that I'm careful for fucking bang.
We're going to be absolutely hit by the children. Let's go, big buddy. Open fire, officer.
Impressive.
This time I'll get a handyman.
Oh no. It's okay. It's in my supply of cranberry juice. Throw him to the top.
Good, get Sunny and start climbing. I'll hold off the mob as long as I can.
What are you waiting for? Shoot!
You tell them to help you look out the
I hope the children don't fall. We need to burn them in a fire. Hurry, kids. The mobile home can't take any more damage.
Hector's right, best thing is another balloon. The whole device is gonna crash, and the Pragmatics are gonna be in danger.
Then we have to let them go. Have your head higher. But how will you reach us? We won't.
Hold your fire! They're climbing down!
They must be surrendering.
Let us go! What are you doing? Thunderform!
They're getting away with my sapphires!
Darling, calm down. I want you to come in with this one all over.
Stop! Stop shooting at them!
With your mechanical device.
Mechanical device? Mechanical device?
Absolution. Is that harpoon gun mechanical? Keep breaking. Number 67, she's capturing murderers, you square!
Murderers? I mean, the Baudelaires have already come down. They're not going anywhere.
You can't let people break the rules to catch me for breaking the rules! They're getting away with my inheritance! Put down that harpoon gun and then make all these wonderful birds!
Any bird I like can make chicken sandwich.
If we don't see each other again, this is all the information about the real DFD. Everything you need to know is in these Cloniverse books about Captain plan, about John Stickett and his associate. You helped us, Cloniverse. I hope we can help you.
Gabazanks, Osma, Frankis no ba,
Goodbye.
Ilebak, Lysim,
Goodbye, Cloniverse.
Hura, Tiru, Imahana, Turingo, Impala.
You flew number one!
That is the most important
Hoorah.
rule of all.
It was just a stupid bird. A stupid bird? Not ambitious and finish to carry a chain.
We take our qualifications very seriously.
Sharu. Honkaru. Barawa. Tiru. Frankis no ba. Tiru. Hura. Imahana. Tiru. Hura. Yoruba. Nayaflu. Lemtim Yinabi.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Urai.
Cloniverse.
Kankaru. Uvane. Bawara. Hura.
home to Crow.
You crew number one.
That is the most important one.
You're home to Crow.
You crew number one.
That is the most important rule of all.
It's just a stupid bird.
Stupid bird.
Not ambitious and very tired of a change.
We take our pals devotion very seriously.
Yeah, everything's cool. Everything was cool in this village before you two showed up. You with your funny talk and you with your oh gods.
It'd be a shame to waste all that kindling.
In the name of the Lord! Stop in the name of the Lord!
I had everything. 2 sets of orphans, 2 sets of fortunes, and now it's all gone.
Darling, you have not lost everything. You still have me, and I have the hope
Let's fly this coop.
Where do you think you're going?
Detective Dupont, you let the murderers escape. Officer Luciana, you and your crow. Now you're picking your crow.
Bang the magnet gate!
You feel a bit wise to burn anyone now that you've lost your fire truck.
Another mechanical device? That's more than a mechanical device. It's a getaway vehicle. Eat my dust! Hurry, boy!
Lovely spot today.
No, citizens. We need to get this crow to the fix.
Are the children on board?
The quagmires. They're rising into the air higher and higher, where villainy and treachery can never reach them.
Then they're finally safe. They go up so fast.
As the Bullwares watch their friends vanish up in the air, their own feelings were up in the air as well, which here means they weren't sure how to feel. They felt sad because they knew they had
Ribbon your pod.
But they also felt relieved because their friends were safe. And as these self-understanding how their
Topic
vulnerable
photo.
these scared Bullwares couldn't help but feel up in the air about everything that was happening. And the mystery of what would happen next.
We're going so fast.
We need to keep moving.
And go where and do what? We have to be self-sustained. How much do you think we salvaged from the Cloniverse book? Because it's hard to say. Everything's in scraps.
Notes, research, sketches, bullets. She wants to come home.
One of Isadora's?
It's Duncan's handwriting.
Can you travel away in secret? How can I volunteer?
So don't scream when we take you. The world is quiet.
Shouldn't wreck your evening, your life and your day. Every single episode is nothing but dismay. So look away, look away, look away. The bullies are hiding in a place crawling with doctors. Colossus behind them with his troop of lousy officers. Something dreadful happens with a big sharp rusty knife. So if I were you, I'd find some other way to spend your life. Just look away, look away. There's nothing but terror and inconvenience on the way. Ask any stable person, should I watch, and they will say, look away, 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 look away.
Let's play a drinking game.
Oh, now we're talking.
We throw daggers. Whoever misses your dear father's head drinks and tells the truth.
Prepare to lose. You've
Mainstream archaeologists have long maintained that the Great Pyramid was built some 4,500 years ago as a tomb for the pharaoh Khufu. But that assertion has come under scrutiny in recent years, owing largely to the fact that no mummy was ever found in its chambers. And deadly forests, haunted houses, mountains where visitors never return alive. Are there such things as evil places? Places that are really born bad? There are those who believe that. Not only is such an incredible notion possible, but that there are literally thousands of these places all around us. But how could a seemingly harmless destination like an amusement park really be thought of as cursed? That is what we'll try and find out. In central Japan, 60 miles southwest of Tokyo, lies the Aokigahara Forest. Located at the base of Mount Fuji, it is considered by the Japanese to be sacred. Although, in recent years, many believe that these woods have become not a holy place, but a place of evil. Each year, shockingly high numbers of people come here to end their own lives. So many, in fact, that the place has become known as the Suicide Forest.
If you ever walk through any other woods or forests, you always hear the birds, and you hear rustling, and you hear all sorts of things, but not in Suicide Forest. In Suicide Forest, it's just completely and absolutely silent. I didn't see a living thing other than those plants, and I certainly didn't hear anything. So it's the silence that really hits you at first. It definitely had a different feel to it, and that kind of raises the anxiety. A lot of locals will tell you that as they grew up near the forest, they were told never to go there. It's a dark, scary place. It's not a place for you. Stay away from it.
Aokigahara literally translates as the field of green trees. This forest is also known as the Jukai, the sea of trees. Many people go and commit suicide, typically by hanging or also by prescription drug overdose. Officials have stopped publicizing the numbers so as to not encourage more people to go there, but it really has become a magnet for suicides.
At the entrance to the park, signs are posted advising those who enter the forest with suicidal thoughts to stop and turn back. It is a warning meant to prevent people from being swallowed up by the darkness of this place. A darkness from which there is no return.
These signs tell people, please don't commit suicide. Think of your parents, think of your family. They give you information on who to call if you need some help. So it's very clear that this is a concern of theirs. They know it's a problem, and they ask you, please don't do this. And you'll see those signs everywhere, which will remind you of how prevalent the problem is.
Aokigahara is also a non-camping forest, so camping is strictly forbidden. Yet people who contemplate suicide sometimes bring their tents. We do have lots of these traces of the departed that remain in the forest, from personal effects to thread marking the past.
Part of the mystique of Suicide Forest is quite often people who want to commit suicide will bring these ribbons because they haven't figured out whether they really want to do it or not. So they'll tie the ribbon, and if they change their mind, they can find a way out. But if they don't change their mind, at the end of that ribbon, you may find the body.
The Suicide Forest has one of the highest suicide rates of anywhere in the world. But unlike other such places, like the Golden Gate Bridge, or Niagara Falls, where people jump to their deaths, here they come to rates of
because they haven't figured out whether they really want to do it or not. So they'll tie the ribbon, and if they change their mind, they can find a way out. But if they don't change their mind, at the end of that ribbon, you may find the body.
The Suicide Forest has one of the highest suicide rates of anywhere in the world. But unlike other such places, like the Golden Gate Bridge, or Niagara Falls, where people jump to their deaths, here they come to experience a different and arguably more disturbing method of release.
In Japanese belief, any person who dies has to receive a proper ritual treatment in order to transition to the world of the dead. If they don't receive these very specific, generally Buddhist rites, there's a belief that the soul of the deceased person will linger in the physical plane of existence. If someone commits suicide in a spot, it's believed that the yurei, the ghost, will be hanging around that spot where they committed suicide. They're tied to it there. So it becomes a potential danger spot if other people are just walking through it. They can get lured by the yurei, who's going to influence them somehow to commit suicide themselves. Aokigahara becoming a suicide spot is a relatively recent phenomenon that started in the 1960s. It can be traced back to a novel called The Tower of Waves, in which two of the main protagonists could not live out their love and then decided to commit suicide together in this forest. This is one of the reasons why the forest became a very famous suicide spot.
It's rather strange that they say around 100 bodies a year are found in that place. And it begs the question, is there something about the place itself that attracts people to go there to commit suicide?
It probably started off as just a dense forest, but as more and more people kill themselves in this place, I think the evil permeates all over the place, and it's probably affecting people who go in there. Evil permeating the atmosphere? Could such an extraordinary and frightening notion be true? I think everybody has gone to a certain spot and they feel uncomfortable with it. They just don't know exactly why, but they just don't feel right. They feel like something's wrong here. This doesn't feel good to me. It's kind of evil. There's certain regions that have had bad things happen to it, and you can feel it.
We have to realize that the human body is one of the most ultimate pieces of scientific equipment. You have so many different types of sensors on your body. You can see, smell, hear, taste, feel, and all that information that you're receiving from your environment causes you to feel the way you do at any given second. So if your body is not feeling right and your brain is telling you something's not right here, it is possible that it's a evil location, right?
In recent years, scientists studying the morbid phenomenon, Japan's so-called suicide forest, have suggested that the answer to the mystery might be not a paranormal one, but geological.
One of the really interesting things about Suicide Forest is it didn't exist until the last massive eruption of Mount Fuji, which is more than 1,000 years ago. And that's what laid out this enormous bed of lava that eventually hardened. There are chambers within the ground. And in these chambers is where people will go into and commit suicide. Some of them will just take pills and lie down, and eventually you'll find a body inside one of these chambers.
There's a possibility that the volcanic region, the rock, the salt, might have some sort of piezoelectric type material within them that could generate electric and magnetic fields. And it's also known that electromagnetic fields do impact the brain activity. I would think from the evidence that this geomagnetic field is having some impact on mass depression.
The connection between magnetic anomalies and chemical reactions in the brain could lead to a type of depression that would enhance suicide. You can imagine a person who is suicidal or thinking about suicide, but is fundamentally uncomfortable with the idea, moving into one of these areas, and this interaction makes them just comfortable enough that now they will carry through on the suicide.
Could hundreds of ritual suicides really be the result of magnetic anomalies in the brain caused by the unique properties of volcanic rock? Or, as many Japanese themselves believe, could the cause be something even more incredible?
There's an old saying that says, what we do in life echoes in eternity. If we have a forest where hundreds of people have gone to that forest to commit suicide for over 60 years, could the dark energy of all of the departed souls be lurking there? And could that energy be what is attracting people to come to the forest?
Tragic souls of the departed, luring others in to join them. A far-fetched notion, perhaps, but no more bizarre than what has been happening at the Aokigahara Forest for the past 6 decades. And no less disturbing than what happened to Eagle hikers on a mountain top nearly 4,000 miles away. A mountain that the locals have named Don't Go There. January 1959. 9 mountaineers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute embarked on a perilous journey through Russia's Ural Mountains. Their destination? A remote mountain peak known as Ortorten, which in the local Mansi language means, don't go there.
They went out on this very strenuous trek or mission to show that the mountain could be conquered. As far as we know, they were all experienced. Igor Dyatlov, who was in charge of the group, had about 7 missions to his name, similar missions. They were supposed just to study the mountain, to show that they can withstand the incredible cold in this desolate place and come back.
A few days into their trek, the hikers moved through a mountain pass with high ridges and poor visibility, causing them to veer miles off course. Realizing their mistake and faced with the bitter cold of the coming night, they choose to stop and camp on a slope called Rolat Saul, which in Mansi translates to the Mountain of the Dead.
It's a very windy area. When I say windy, the winds are horrible. And they should not have put the tent on that slope. They could have done it easily, 100 meters away in the forest. They went against all the knowledge that the experienced trekkers should have. So why would they put it out there? What drove them? Nobody knows for sure.
Weeks later, when it becomes clear that the group has failed to return from its expedition, a military search and rescue operation was launched. They find the campsite abandoned and a tent that has been torn to pieces. Curiously, the investigators determined that the tent was cut and ripped open from the inside, and the hikers appear to have fled in socks or barefoot.
We're dealing with a group of experienced hikers who escaped their tent in the middle of the night without any reason, unless something happened to their minds.
In search of the hikers, the investigators moved to the edge of a nearby forest. What they eventually find has defied explanation for more than 50 years.
4 of them were discovered initially, and 5 of them were found later. And they all died differently. Some of the bodies died from exposure and were intact. Some of them were dressed completely. Most of them were naked, so to say. Others had horrible wounds on them. Their bones were crushed inside their bodies. Others, their skull was crushed. One woman lost her tongue and parts of her face. Others were burned, like somebody put their feet in the fire or they put it themselves. They escaped like some force. Something scared them.
The official causes of death for the hikers claimed that 6 had died from hypothermia, and the other 3 from fatal injuries caused by an unknown compelling force. But the inquiry was forced to an abrupt end by the Soviet government, and the chief investigator refused to sign off on the final report.
There were 2 investigators initially, and they were told to shut up and close the case with the determination that the cause of death was an invincible force of nature that killed them.
In some cases, the fact that some of them died from the bitter cold, okay, that makes sense. They're in a region that's freezing. But what about the other people? Fractured skulls, crushed lungs? There's something weird here.
What was the compelling force that inflicted such brutal and grotesque harm on these victims? While some have speculated that it could have been an avalanche or even an attack by Mansi tribes, there was virtually no evidence to support these claims. Others point to local legends of some kind of monster, a creature capable of tearing people apart with its voice.
There are descriptions of Mansi warning people not to go to this mountain, not to go to this area, because the sounds that come from there can kill you. The entity that lives in that mountain emits horrible shrieking sounds that can destroy human beings.
Recently, a new theory has surfaced, one that suggests this mountain pass may be just as deadly as the Mansi name implies. Not because of some supernatural monster, but for a surprisingly scientific reason.
So this is a very windy pass in the Ural Mountains. In 2014, there was some study that was done that showed that the wind kind of whipping through because the topography caused low-frequency sound, kind of a hum. And low-frequency sound can cause the eyeball to vibrate, can cause people to see shadows out of the corner of their eyes, especially if you're in an environment that is desolate, which is what that was to begin with.
The dimensions and the physics of the actual pass are likely to lead to very low frequencies, which is exactly what infrasound is. Infrasound is just referring to any sound that's below our normal hearing. But sound itself is just pressure waves and vibration in the air. So your body is still detecting it, your ears are still reacting to it, your eardrums are moving, and that's still generating electrical signals in your brain. So there's an impact to the infrasound that we don't fully understand yet.
Being exposed to this sound is fatiguing your body. Any type of fatigue that's long-term
Bro,
can
this is
cause
literally
significant psychosis.
ancient aliens.
In fact, there were several cases on the Mir space station where the Russian cosmonauts were exposed to various vibrations, and it caused them to actually have I have a friend who worked on consoles for Mir, and he said that once one of the cosmonauts pulled a knife on one of the other cosmonauts because of this type of exposure. It's not like a rock falling on somebody's head. It's happening inside their minds. And infrasound is a powerful weapon. And apparently it's affecting those who are coming to the mountain. That's why it is a hypothesis now that is being explored more and more in Russia as to the cause of death of the Dyatlov tourists.
I don't subscribe to the theory that heavy winds created an atmosphere where these people went nuts. I think there was something else afoot, something very evil and strange that happened to these night hikers, and I hope we get the answers to it. But again, maybe we don't want the answer. Maybe because it's so hideous and so evil, we don't want to know it.
Did the harsh winds of the Diaco Pass really create a low-frequency noise that caused the hikers to lose their minds and brutally kill each other? Or could it be the mysterious monster responsible for the hikers' deaths? For the 9 whose bodies were found horribly mutilated? The question was academic, as far as they were concerned.
Quasi bonora. Optical camouflage. They move. Premise qualified. You know something? Where's my cross?
Stands the abandoned remnants of what was once a simple, wholesome family amusement.
One's payun.
Opened in 1926, the park thrived for decades until it was abruptly closed in 1966. According to local historians, the reason for the closure was that what started as a playground for children became the site of numerous tragedies and disturbing its
Fibbalone, boy. Novel soft.
In the 1940s, little girls riding the swings, and a soda delivery truck delivered soda to the concession stand. Whenever he did, he backed up into the path of the swing and killed the little girl.
They tried to play it down because it was a child getting killed. She wasn't the only child killed here. There were several kids that drowned. One was a really sad story, and I would hope it wouldn't happen nowadays. A mother brought her 9-year-old here and dropped him off to go swimming, and she went on her merry way. She came back when the park was closing, and she couldn't find her son. And they looked for the son until 10 o'clock at night when they found him. His arm was stuck in the drain of the swimming pool, and it had sucked him in, and he couldn't get out, and he had just drowned.
There was another incident where there was a family out on an outing. They was riding a canoe in the lake. The canoe overturned, and a little boy
purchased the property with hopes of reopening it.
In the 1950s, my husband worked here. When he was in high school, he fell in love with it. So this was his wish that someday he would own the property. Somebody had sent us word that the heirs had finally decided they were going to sell it. And that's how we bought it. We wanted to have a children's ride park.
For years, locals believed that the park was haunted, maybe even cursed. Then, in the late 1980s, the White family made some curious discoveries.
We started finding a lot of pottery and Native American tools and arrowheads, stuff like that. So we stopped doing the bulldozing. We called Marshall University. They put together an archaeological team that would come down to the park. They started uncovering bodies. So that's when we knew we had a Native American burial ground on the property. I know that one of the burial sites was a Native American 14-year-old girl. And the belief is that she died in childbirth because the child was buried next to her.
Uibak Tutsuo, Dol Bay, Che. Nizo Buddha.
From the site of a Native American burial ground. A coincidence? As far as paranormal investigators.
Wait a moment. Buna.
The first time I stepped foot on
Suavitate. Authentic.
I felt like
Sabate.
I was being watched. It was an ominous,
Meshki training.
just
Paso.
negative feeling. I don't necessarily believe that the places are born bound. I believe that things have to occur for a place to become negative in nature.
People said whenever they come to the park that they see the swings move on their own, or maybe they see an image of the little girl that tried the swings.
If a town
Or it stops as soon as someone else is looking. That's pretty scary.
Shoot
More than
lava
scary, it's unexplained.
Jadi.
We tend to be scientists now. All of us, we know everything that's going on. And when you see something that you don't understand,
Finally, Spino, you have to make his whip drift swing. And hey,
but also PSP experiences and related experiences. Insert question to the side should be looking at the other character and closely think to say, oh, it's mass hallucination or it's this kind of explanation. Without looking into the experience itself, either the singular or the general patterns, it's not scientific. It's highly unscientific.
Is the dark history of the Lake Shawnee amusement park the result of a curse placed upon anyone who dares to desecrate this sacred ground? Or was the area always a place of evil? A place where bad things will always happen, regardless of what is built there? Perhaps the answer can be found by examining a place where some people believe evil not only happens, but can actually be measured. Not only in fear and suffering, but scientifically. It can be proven to be as tangible as flesh and blood. Cayuga, Indiana, February 16, 2019. Paranormal investigator Dave Spinks and his associate Haley Sharp have traveled here to this small town to investigate a house that many consider to be the most beautiful place in North America. Referred to as Willow Street, it has been the site of a series of gruesome deaths since it was built in the 19th century. Brenda Johnson owns Willow Street. I'm Brenda.
And
She dismissed the rumors about it being an evil place and purchased it only a few years ago with plans to renovate.
This is my sister, Haley.
Nice to meet you.
But recent events have convinced her that she may have made a terrible mistake. To this end, she's invited Dave and Haley to come and investigate the house and see if her strange experiences can be verified.
So, how you doing?
I couldn't stand it. All night last night I was sick thinking about coming over here around this house.
So tell us a little bit about the house, some of your experiences here.
Well,
Saturday
we started working on it, and then the son was working on the ceiling. The boards come flying off at him, and hurt him, and I've been scratched in there, 6 claw marks down my back, doors slamming on you, banging underneath the floors.
I understand there's been deaths in this house. Can you kind of go through those a little bit?
Yeah. The man who built the house, he died in the bathtub. There was 2 suicides, and then another hanging. And I heard that 3 men had been poisoned. About 6 months prior, before I bought it, there was a man that committed suicide in there. He fell into the chair.
And that's where they found him? They found him, a couple days later, right? A week later, okay. Do you think what's in that house is evil?
Yes, I do.
Without a doubt.
If it wasn't evil, it wouldn't be hurting people. I don't think there's nothing good in there.
The house was built in that late 1800s, correct?
1890, yes.
So, regarding the shape of the house, the shape of a cross.
Upside down cross.
Strange.
Yes, very strange.
Do you think the guy was into some weird stuff, like occult stuff, that they built it?
Why would you build a house like that if you wasn't into something?
Absolutely. So we're getting ready to go into this house and investigate it. Would you like to join us?
No, no way. Never go back in there again. Ever.
All right, we're going to get in there and investigate it.
All right.
Here we go.
All right.
Pretty heavy in here.
Well, where do you want to get set up?
Right here.
Okay.
To see if the house might contain strange anomalies, Dave and Haley will use a temperature sensor, which can detect fluctuations in both temperature and electromagnetic fields.
All right, 41, 40 degrees. That's going down.
He really likes this area.
Yeah. It's going nuts.
The temperature sensor has been dropping steadily by as much as 9 degrees. But why?
So this room is appearing to be pretty active so far. I mean, the whole house really is. But we've got a lot of hits right here on this device.
This is the chair that Brenda was talking about.
Yeah, look at the blood on it. It's a really sad, heavy feeling right here too. Up here in my stomach. Almost immediately, the device started going off in the chair where the man who killed himself in the house several years ago was found in.
Could the strange changes in the temperature of the house be caused by some external force? A sudden drop in barometric pressure caused by the presence of a deep underground well, perhaps? Or could it be caused by something else? Something that can't yet be explained.
I'm getting the sickness, the headache. Definitely something negative here.
I agree.
Let's get out of here.
Let's go.
All right.
But the stories of Willow being an evil place might be based on more than fear, superstition.
The house is scary. I wouldn't want to be in this house alone. Let's say this house does have some evil in it. It does not give you a good feeling. It wants to suck the life out of you.
I've been to many locations, and this one stands out above all of them so far. In my personal opinion, there are many spirits and entities in this house. There are human spirits, possibly demonic spirits, that influence the humans that have lived in this house, and quite possibly have caused them to harm themselves.
Once outside, Dave and Haley give owner Brenda Johnson a report on their findings. But not before Dave makes Brenda assassinate.
I know you really don't like this place, and I know that you want to get rid of it, because I never purchased the house from you.
Okay. Yes.
Dave is willing to be the next owner of Willow's Creek.
Right.
Thank you, honey.
Thank you.
I told Brenda if I owned this house, I can investigate it much further and much more in depth, and possibly come to a conclusion as to what's causing the evil that lurks within his walls. That is, if something doesn't happen to me first. Luckily for me, she agreed. She really couldn't wait to sell the place.
Was Willow's Creek really built to attract evil spirits? For Brenda Johnson, Dave Spinks, and Haley Sharp, the answer is a very disturbing yes. But why would someone deliberately want to construct an evil place, unless perhaps it wasn't meant to attract demonic spirits, but to entrap them? In an effort to create a deadly warning, the demons are real. Honduras, February 2015. Deep in the heart of the jungle, a team of American explorers, journalists, and archaeologists make a dramatic discovery. Evidence of an ancient city that has been lost for more than 500 years.
We were standing on the banks of this river when the archaeologist is pointing to this wall of treasure and saying across the river, that's the beginning of the lost city. So we crossed the river
with soldiers with machetes cutting a path for us. And all of a sudden, there it is, rising up out of the jungle, just straight up. It was the most amazing thing. And then what we saw was a cache of sacred objects carved out of stone that had been left at the time the city was abandoned. And this was a gigantic mystery. Why did these people leave all of a sudden?
This is like Kumar.
Announced that they had uncovered the top level of that city, which has been buried under centuries of jungle vegetation. Soon afterwards, many began to speculate as to whether the ruins were those of a legendary place known to Hondurans as Ciudad Blanca, or the White City. A place that was believed to have been deserted centuries ago because of a deadly curse.
We went to do our ground expedition in 2015. Many of the local Hondurans and the Honduran Air Force people that were with us and the Special Forces people said, oh, and my grandmother and my grandfather told me all about the lost city when we were kids, and they said it's cursed. They said if you go there and you pick any of the flowers, you will die and will never come back.
In the case of the White City, there is a very interesting tradition of a Taraka Indian Hindu who lived there with them, and they refused him shelter, chased him out, and in turn he cursed the city, and he cursed that area so that it became basically a poisonous area to live in, and the people had to abandon their city and leave. You know, we heard these stories, but, you know, we're scientists. We're anthropologists, archaeologists, ethnobotanists. You know, we don't believe in curses, or so we thought. But, you know, sometimes curses are based on the truth.
After we completed our first ground expedition, everybody came back alive, nobody got injured, we're shaking hands, sipping a beer and going, great, we made it. You know, everyone survived. We all had hundreds of bug bites. Didn't think anything of it until about a month later. And 60% of our crew, including the Hondurans, they had a bug bite that didn't go away. It got bigger. Eventually, it became a big open wound, a big open ulcer. A couple other people became very, very ill. Two of them almost died.
Julie? Gonna some flour.
Yes. We have leishmaniasis, but not even just regular leishmaniasis. This is an entirely new one. It's a genetic sequence, and it's a really virulent one we've never seen before.
Commonly known as flesh-eating disease, leishmaniasis is a rare parasitic disease that is spread by the bites of certain sandflies. The affliction eats away at the skin of the lips, nose, and mouth. The new strain that infected the explorers is particularly
Vips Wabitabe, Tharbthenic, Sabate,
Sibuna Torble Farbe.
Neebs, Alcha, Ah, Bouchard, Clark.
May pick Yimbar.
Watuni, Substitol, Simona Zero, Buquam, Anpe, Tibanahanu, host like Tiffanau. Ganuik Saflan, Sabe, Dobada.
Quexi, Ozuni, Ichunia.
Sinashay,
these are.
The years that made you weak.
What have you become? I am.
Oh, hell yeah. Plan for Bantu. True. Clemo. Aha.
Hey, well, yeah, I work at 6 in the morning, so I'm just gonna play Sims for a little bit longer. I was watching Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, normally I would, but like I'm pretty tired, and I was just watching Obi-Wan Kenobi before I go to bed on my other TV. I'm just tired. And I work at 6 again. Hey, wait, but, I mean, I'll join the party. I mean, I don't mind talking. I just have to put my headset on. Cool. Alright, okay. If you want, I can share play Sims if you want, but I'm just on vacation, doing nothing. I'm literally basically doing nothing. I'm just hanging out with my kid and like trying to train her. Where's it at? Hoping this. Okay. I'm joining.